So this is going to be my thoughts and review of Stranger Things Season 4 Volume 2. Now this isn't really going to be a direct spoiler discussion or talk or anything like that. So I won't be going into any sort of really direct story spoilers about anything that happened in Volume 2. And if you want to see my thoughts on what I thought about Volume 1, that video got uploaded around when Volume 1 came out in about early June, I believe. So originally, I foolishly thought that Volume 2 would be the relative equal in terms of Volume 1 in terms of the amount of episodes that were in Volume 2. Volume 1 had 7 episodes, so I guess I was expecting a few, like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 episodes in Volume 2. As it turns out, there only ends up being 2 episodes in Volume 2 for a total length in terms of episodes of 9 episodes, which is actually the average length of episodes for Stranger Things in all of the previous 3 seasons. So that was foolish on my thoughts to be expecting more episodes, I guess. Volume 2 ends up obviously being the 2 episodes finale for Season 4 in dealing with the multiple different storylines going on here. As I mentioned in my Volume 1 review, that was the most eye-opening thing about Season 4 for me, was these 4 different storylines going on here, because there's so many characters now in the Stranger Things that the only way to give them room to breathe is to separate them. So when Volume 1 ended, we had Elle trying to get her powers back in that original facility she was in. The other storyline is Mike, Will, Jonathan, and that one pizza stoner guy on a road trip to find her. Then there's the other group of kids/young adults, Sil and Hawkins dealing with the curse of Vecna directly. And then there's the escape/rescue mission in Russia involving Hopper, Joyce, and a few others. Within these 2 episodes of Volume 2 is where the first 3 stories that I mentioned finally begin to intersect, and then the Russia mission stays separate pretty much. The bits in Russia mission were still entertaining. Now it's no longer about rescuing Hopper. It's more about dealing with the Demogorgons and the demidogs that we saw in Season 1 and Season 2 of Stranger Things. Although I will say that compared to all the other stuff going on here, it wasn't as interesting, nor did it seem as important. In all honesty, it did feel a little fillerish in terms of just giving them something to do in Russia, whereas obviously the main mission of rescuing Hopper was already completed. Thankfully now 11's storyline finally begins to break away from that underground lab facility that she was in. The visuals and the dialogue there were getting a bit too repetitive there, to where I was starting to become a little bit bored with her story in Volume 1. I honestly think her story was at its best at the beginning of this season, with her dealing with being without her powers and getting bullied at school. That definitely was the most sort of fun part of her story for me. Although she definitely obviously gets her moments to shine in this Volume 2 of Season 4, and that makes sense since she's obviously the main hero of this series. Within these intersecting stories comes, I guess, the most interesting character development going on here, and that involves Will. Now, what happens with him here in Volume 2 actually got teased in the episodes of Volume 1. I failed to mention this in my Volume 1 review because it was kind of a quick thing that I honestly forgot to put in that review. His development here, though, really takes more sort of, I guess, front and center kind of moments and dynamics. What's equally as interesting here is how, while it's obvious what's going on here with him, they actually don't come out and say it directly, even though everyone else knows what's going on in terms of the audience. In all honesty, though, I think this was done here just because Will is the least interesting out of all the kids around here. He's got the least amount of personality in terms of his dynamics and what's going on relationship-wise. It's just not really that interesting. To me, once his voice went through puberty, he just became just kind of a weird kid, and it's just like, it's not really that much interesting going on with him. Unless he's trapped in the upside down or seeing weird shit in the real world, no one really cares that much what's going on with Will, which is why I think they did what they did with him in Season 4 in terms of his character growth or development, whatever you want to call it. Now, getting away from that, the Curse of Vecna is obviously really the center stage story here, and that's obviously our main threat. Now, previously seeing what the curse can do is what adds a whole lot of urgency and a real sense of danger. Because obviously whenever you see that curse happen, ouch. That's all that needs to be said about that. Notable about the previous 4 episodes is that these episodes are long. Previous season's length, the episode length was about, 50 minutes. Volume 1 pushed that to, about an average length of like an hour and 20 minutes. And the final episode here, without credits, is 2 hours and 17 minutes. That's just some crazy length right there. That's obviously feature film length, like big blockbuster length right there. Netflix obviously knows what they're doing with Stranger Things, so they put all the money they could necessary to give the people their fill of Stranger Things for the whole series in this volume 4, because this episode length is pretty crazy. The final episode, episode 9, puts our characters, all of them, in a non-stop crisis where it's just one thing after the other coming on. You know, threats from the supernatural world and even a few threats from the real non-supernatural world that really adds for a nice sort of dueling dynamic. The best scenes in this episode came with those involving Lucas at the end, Lucas and Max. You know, those scenes were great. They were tension-filled and had some really nice emotional payoffs that definitely made for a nice episode. Despite the length, though, and I do think the length was a bit long. I don't know why they didn't just split these episodes into sort of making a more sort of streamlined finale. I did really enjoy the final episode. You know, there was a lot of good stuff to it. I didn't even mention the interesting, I guess, conclusion, somewhat, to Steve and Nancy's romantic tension. That was definitely the most interesting out of all the character dynamics seen in season 4. As a 2-part finale, I would give it a 9 out of 10. You know, the episode Dear Billy, episode 4 of season 4, was still not only the best episode of season 4, but probably the whole damn series. That episode was that good. Neither of these two episodes were quite on that level, though episode 9 did come close, but nor do they need to be on that level of, oh my god, 10 out of 10 to make this a great finale, a really good finale. I really enjoyed what was going on here. You know, despite the length, and it was a very long episode, episode 9, gave you all the stuff you would want from all the stories, gave them nice conclusions, lots of nice moments to make it, like I said, fun ending for season 4. Now, speaking about being a finale, I remember a lot of talk and a lot of marketing saying that this is going to be the end of Stranger Things. A whole lot of marketing just because, like, you know what? How long can they keep going with this sort of a dynamic formula for Stranger Things? So I was paying attention to the ending, and after watching the actual ending, it's like, yeah, no. All that talk, or I guess supposed talk about this being the end of Stranger Things, that ain't happening. You know, without giving any direct spoilers, there's way too many loose ends, storylines going forward, things that aren't quite wrapped up, things that are teased to happen, to like, yeah, not the end. There is definitely going to be a season 5. And it makes sense. You know, Stranger Things is obviously a worldwide phenomenon now. It's Netflix's big cash cow. They know what they're doing. And if they don't have the series Stranger Things, well, they don't have a platform. So obviously they need the series to keep going. And it'll keep going until the wheels come off and it's no longer the worldwide phenomenon that it is. So you can expect season 5, I guess, I would say about 3 years from now. Because if they're going to keep making these episodes an average length of about an hour and a half, well, they'll definitely need a whole lot of time to write the episodes and film them. So that'll do it with my review of Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 2. As you can see, I enjoyed the series, so I'd recommend watching it. It'll give you, if you're a fan of the series, which I am now, it'll definitely give you what you want in terms of your Stranger Things dynamics, fun, characters, story, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, teasing stuff for the future. So that'll do it for this video. If you made it to the end of this review, thank you for watching.